Sorry to bother a lot of you tonight. This morning. It's about almost 3:30. Saturday morning. The day after Black Friday. The day after all the discounts started ringing in for the holiday, and hope you had a good holiday, if you want to call it that. Not even sure why I'm recording this or if I'm even going to post this, but it's crazy how life comes at you sometimes, I was born in the great year of 1972. Month of March said I would make me an Aries, if you want to call it that. At an early age, you're taught to value your education. So it was important for us to know how to do the math, how to be able to read, how to be able to spell, and then put it all together in order to call ourselves educated enough to take it to the next level, for higher learning, higher education. And some of us were stuck in the rut where your education was supposed to stop because of your religion. So you couldn't go to college or anything like that, but you were told to take up a trade, which that should have shown red flags right there enough to say, hey, you're going to tell us that your God says take up a trade, but don't get educated on that trade enough to go to a collegiate level or, higher education. Kind of crazy, right? So I'm talking to existence tonight because I think we fell short somewhere, somehow, to the point where a high number of us are looking for heroes. Heroes, it's a word that we either created or was always in existence. You can stick the word legendary in front of that, so that'll change that up. But hero, because, it was something that you can always look up to. You can strive to follow and be like. And, sometimes we forget that we've all had heroes already, just never recognized them as being heroes. For example, for myself, my greatest hero in my life was my father. My father. At the same time, my father was also I don't know. He was the hero and he was the villain. And the craziest part is I'm the spitting image of my father. So I look like the hero and the villain. I understand the stresses that he was under during the early 60s and 70s. And I wasn't even born or conceived yet. I do understand, because we have the opportunity of going through encyclopedias and old videos and reading old books that belong to that time period that supposedly told the story. But it's hard to wear someone else's shoes if you have no business putting your feet into them. But I had every business of putting my feet into my father's shoes, because I'm the spitting image of my father. I just didn't understand the world enough to be able to decipher as to what makes someone a villain compared to what makes someone a hero. See, because it's easier to be the villain, because it doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of effort. And it also proves to the whole world what the whole world really was about being villains. Villains. The number of villains is way higher than the number of heroes. That's what makes being a hero so tough. So tough. Because it's hard to stay in the straight and narrow. Hard. If you don't have the right heart, you don't have the right desire, you don't have the right goals, you don't have the right will, you're gonna fall off of that. And when you fall off, you're always described as the villain. It's hard to walk both hero and villain, and yet they gave you the color gray. They gave you the color gray. They gave you beings known as grays. Grays. Because it's the cross between the so-called black and the white. Yet love is the greatest denominator. Love is like the universal solvent, which we call water, the universal solvent. But love is also a universal solvent. Because love causes you to forgive but not forget. But it still causes you to forgive. See, we've been so strung up and so put into such a control mechanism, it's almost like a program. We've been programmed, especially people that look similar to my tone, my skin tone, programmed. We've been so programmed to have certain knowledge, having a form of faith. And those two things are supposedly what help create our reality. What makes up who we are as beings, But somehow, some way, we lost something that was more valuable than all the knowledge of the world. All of it. We lost something that was more valuable. I want you to understand this. More valuable than all the knowledge of the world. Now, if you had something like that, it's amazing. But if you saw others that had it and you didn't come from it, then that would make you what they call jealous. It would be so easy to be jealous of someone or some people or a group of people or a type of people. So easy because you look at them. You look first. And then you compare. And you say to yourself, are they heroes or are they villains? Are they the good guy or are they bad guys? You look at them first. Then you judge them. And this is what my point is. You judge them. And based on that judgment, you either decide to yourself, well, that's not fair. That should be us. And decide to yourself, what do we do about it? See, and based on that point, that time period, that decision is the same thing that happened in 1452 when they said subjugate all Saracens. Now, how can that phrase be kept in human history without an ounce of jealousy? That phrase alone would make them supposedly heroes and villains. Now back to my father. I love my father more than anything in the world. I love him. I respect everything that he's done for our family. But that's the conversation that him and I have to continue to have because it affects our family. I'm not here to put this out there publicly to make it seem that I don't like my father or this and no. But religion, see, religion is a different fucking ball. It's a different ball in the game. Remember, many people have lost lives over religion. We've started wars because of religion. So how important should it be for us to be right or wrong? Because isn't that what the definition is? To be righteous is just being full of being right, right? I mean, we live in a world today where the weather's against everybody's, illnesses is against everybody. Right now, even economically, money's against everybody. Like, it's hard now. It's hard. We have to look at the mirror totally different now than what we did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. We're looking at the mirror totally different. Now it's coming down to who we should blame instead of all of us are to blame. See, back on my father, I never could ever blame my father for a lot of the actions that have been done in our family, in our home. I can't blame him because I understand the realm. Let's make sure you hear this. And that's why you need to watch this video in full context instead of you jumping out of, or even not caring, or even skipping this video. It's fine. It's fine. You don't have to watch this. But it's the realm. The realm. There are more books than you'll ever know that state the same phrase, that they came to search for Mount Zion, for the land of Jerusalem. That's what they called it in these books. These books that are held by the secret groups, that are made up by different religious groups, by money, all these different tags. Why? When supposedly we needed to be able to read first in order to decipher things, right? So why would the so-called God that created everything create one of the most illest things to put on mankind by giving them confusion enough to say, you'll never figure this out? How is it these bitches have been searching for one thing that's been known to help mankind with everything? And yet, say it's about money, say it's about our religion is greater than yours, say it's about our name is bigger than yours. Like, it's just sick. It's sick. It's sick. See, we've grown so accustomed to accepting death that we've never sat down and said, how the fuck do we punch death in the fucking face? Kill death. How about that? How about that? Come on. Life can never have been about death. It had to always been about life. You know, we see the cycle every single year when, you know, some things grow on the ground and then the seasons come around and they kill off the, you know, the process, and then it restarts up again, right? Right? You ever wonder yourself? It's almost like the flower that grows in the concrete. It just grows right up through it. No matter how solid that ground is, somehow that little that little thing in nature, the flower, just works its way up through that concrete and grows. Shouldn't be possible, but it is. And yet jealousy is. Jealousy is a motivator. But it has to be also served up by the observer. They have to look at something and say, wow, that's amazing. I wish I had it. That's what wishes are about. And it's very interesting because life should have been for everyone, right? And yet nowadays, it just seems like it's not. And yet we say these things to ourselves. We listen to our educators. We listen to our teachers. We do all this listening. And they give us a test to see if we listened well. And if we pass the test, then they give us more things to listen to. All designed for us to respond. And based on our respond, comes off as either jealousy or empowerment. So just ask yourself, how could the word jealousy, how could God claim to be judging? And yet, the whole time, the letter J itself is not even 510 years old. So where was that word and what did that word mean before that time period? And then you understand that there's more to this life than just physical. See, the physical ones were led by what? Spirit, right? Well, where did spirit come from? Spirit had to come from something that used to be physical that is no longer physical. Makes sense, right? So why would the spiritual have an opportunity or even the nerve to be jealous? Maybe they're jealous because they're no longer physical, but you are. You empower them. And that's the whole concept of secret societies, of all these groups that call themselves the powerful, the ones you should fear. That's the whole game. And I know my father was affected by those things somehow, some way. So with all due respect, I forgive my father. But I don't forgive the ones that affected my father. See, I'm willing to fight those bitches because I know what they're about. Remember, at the age of 2 and up, I've known them bitches. But they've also known me. So they know deep in my heart, I'm here for a reason. And yet the whole purpose of all of us is to find out what's the meaning of life, why we're here, right? But it's just so sad that for these hundreds of centuries, we're still not getting the math. We can't figure the truth out as to why we're here and what's the meaning of life. Yet that many professors and, those in, the prophets and they all claim, oh yeah, we know the meaning of life. We're supposed to live, be happy, drink, be merry, because someday, one day soon we'll die, right? But there's no meaning behind any of that. In fact, there's a word that was floating around years ago that came out and nobody really said too much about it. It's called goyim. Goyim. To me, goyim just means able to be sacrificed. There's got to be way more to life than that. And if you were able to stick around for these 18 minutes watching this video, then I appreciate it. I'm not making a dime off of this video. But we have so many drugs in the world. We have so many guns in the world. What are they designed to do? Take your life away. When these bitches don't even understand what happens to you after you pass from the physical to spiritual. They want you to be spiritual as physical, as being physical. Why? Because that allows the spirit to manifest themselves into the physical. Doesn't that make obvious sense? Why? Because the spiritual bitches are fucking jealous. Jealous of who? The physical. Why? Because they're still living. They're still living. Yes, they empower you. Why? Because there is a certain power to spiritual things being in you. But they know the truth and what it was before you, being physical, knew what it was. See, they knew it's not about looking up. It's about something that's probably buried below you that you used to be connected to. Remember, they claim they lost the ark, right? Ark of the Covenant, this and that. Can't find it. It's in a mountain somewhere. That's just like gold. Didn't they dig that up, right? They got all these superhero movies and all these powerful cartoons and, Dragon Ball Z, all these different Dragon Ball, all these different cartoons. Let me go through the list. You've seen the movies. There's different movies you can say, wow, that's kind of whack. From Harry Potter to all these different things. I've never seen Harry Potter movies. I haven't seen them. Don't care. All I'm making a point is, even the word magic is connected to the spiritual realm. What's a miracle? Something happening that is physical, but spiritually it seems like the spiritual hand is playing itself into the physical. That's a miracle. I don't care. It's a miracle. Listen, I'm so saddened by COVID and all these things that can just continue to take our lives away. We have more pressure than we've ever had in human existence, but that is not as hard as it was when they came to take lives away in this land. Someone decreed it. Someone looked from a distance and said, we're jealous. We're going to go get them. We're going to go take. We're going to go and live and enjoy and have our paradise. That's what they said in their books. They just never discovered or even thought that we'd ever find those books. Where are we now? What are we doing now today? I know there's a greater power out there. I know it. Why? Because it's in my nature. I don't know why, but it's in my nature. How long do we have to keep going before we finally have someone that finds this shit? And that's probably the whole key to all this time. Probably the key. Unlike the rest of the world, I'm not afraid to tell you that I do feel that there's something major with my existence. Because I've been told for the longest time I'm big as nobody. That made me investigate. That made me look back. Looking back allowed me to see what was coming from the future that I was going to run into. It is what it is. I can't control that. I didn't plan it. All I can do is represent it. I think they have us with our faces so far deep in these Bibles and books and this and that, that with our heads down reading and trying to figure it out and understand it, it's going right over our fucking head. That simple. Which means everything that we had before, from knowledge to everything, is buried. And when they dug it up, they put it to the secret groups so that only they could enjoy it and try to somehow revive the power that it had. And they failed. And they're frustrated. In fact, they're jealous. Because they forgot that in order to empower the things they found, you have to be connected. You have to be blood connected. And that's what makes them jealous. So whether they try to come after me and take my physical life away, I'm going to tell you right now, I've never had a fear. I don't care. That'll give me an opportunity to find my brother, continue our conversation, and then come back together, because I understand the concept of life. You have to be connected to life first. So even though they disconnected us, doesn't necessarily mean that they won this whole war. They've been just winning their battles. So be fortunate that you're still alive today. Be happy that no matter what you see on TV and what you deal with or read in the paper or who's shooting up what tomorrow, be happy that it's dying. It is dying fast. It was never designed to live forever because it would never work. And that tells you that this whole system that we live under has been designed by someone and some groups and some things that were demonic. Demons. And it took devils to fight against demons. Devils just meant divine elves. That's what the word meant. That's why they called people that looked a lot like me devils. God damn it, we didn't have the fucking tails and the pitchforks that you fucking came around with, but you called us devils. Devils is divine elves. That's where the name David came from. Divinity is what it is. They know that. They just don't want you to ever figure it out because maybe, just maybe, you're here for a reason.